Okay, pawn, knight, knight, bishop. By the way, you guys, I love this move because now we won't run into any danger with like our knight and our queen getting pinned here later on. Very important that you play this move. I'm very happy to see this. Let's go with bishop. Uh, pawn, knight. I have to say, you guys, I have a really good feeling about this position from the get go. I've got a good position. It's open, or I've got a good feeling rather. It's an open position. Queen, open position, easy flow to the game. I have a good feeling about this one. Queen, queen. Also, you guys, I don't want to overstress him. Like, if I start talking too much, like I feel like I'll break his concentration, and if I break his concentration, then he's much more likely to make a blunder. In case you guys are wondering why I'm not talking a lot. King, rook, bishop, Also, you guys, I will say, I think he did a great job last game. We just got an unfortunate position where it was easier for them to play, like much easier for them to play. But he didn't. But X didn't really do anything seriously wrong. I mean, there was one mistake, and if one mistake is what's going to cost the game like that, I mean, I feel like that's so be it, kind of, because it was not like some huge howling blunder or error, and Ludwig played a good game. Let's go with Rook. Yeah, let's see if he finds it. I thought this was pretty straightforward because he already is like kind of perfect placement of the rooks, that he would want both the rooks in the center lines. So I thought it should be pretty obvious. That being said, he is thinking a while, so maybe, I mean, I'm hoping that if he doesn't at least play this one, that he's going to go for the double stack. One of these two. Okay, so he's trying to do the classic rook lift again, which is not that bad, I have to say. Not that bad at all. Wait, why are you guys putting tours? You guys can see it. Let's go with pawn. Also, one thing I'll take in mind if I get the opportunity later in these games, I've noticed, is that X does not like to put the queen. Is that X does not like to put the rooks on E8 and D8. He likes to go with rook on F8 or F1. He likes to bring this rook to E8 and have the rooks on these two squares as opposed to these two squares. So I'm gonna have to keep that in mind for the later games. That like if there's a situation where I like rook E8, rook D8, or rook D1, E1, to kind of find a way to give him something that's more like intuitive with like rooks on like only the E file instead of like the E and the D file. That's what I'm gonna have to think of. But we have a great position. I have a very good feeling. I swear you guys are trying to tilt me with your tours, with all those tours. You really are trying to tilt me. Anyway, we have a good position. We're up on the clock. It's smooth. It should be flowing. If I can get X to play E4 with like rook E8, I think we're on our way to a dub this game. I think we're in very, very good shape here. Rook. Also, overall, you guys are doing. Oh, 1 second. Rook. I'm happy, you guys. I'm happy with what he's doing so far. This is very, very good. Very, very good. Queen. Also, of course, you guys, we don't want to trade the bishop for the knight here because, again, the bishop is really important in terms of targeting everything near the white queen. It's really, really important. So like that's why when I say queen, there are really no bad queen moves. The only problem is now white can say knight, and then it's going to be difficult to figure out what we're doing next. That's the only problem. White will say knight, and now white doesn't have many knight moves. This is like kind of the only move if white says knight. If they don't play knight g3, I think we're going to win this game for sure. Let's go with queen. Queen. I don't know if that was a mouse slip or not, because obviously I can't see what chat's writing, but oh man, it's gonna be very hard to find anything now. Knight. We're back in business, you guys. Back in business. If he takes, we take. I mean, we're still losing technically, but we're gonna at least get material back here. So we have like some small chances now. We're back. Knight. Queen. He had knight f3 was winning, you guys. Knight f3 was winning the queen. That's why puzzles are so tricky, because like in a puzzle rush, he probably finds knight f3, but in an actual game, it's like you just think you just take. Yeah, so I said queen. I'm not sure if you heard me.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, just making sure. Yeah, very frustrating that he didn't see knight f3, but it's okay. It's okay. We keep moving forward. I still think we have as good a chance to win as they do, because the position it's very tricky to coordinate like the bishop and the knight. I also think with the rook and the queen, the move should be very slightly easier for us to find than for them to find. Pawn. I do think he should be able to find f5, which is a move I want, because it's not too different from our last game where we got very similar pawn structure, similar situation with the king, and the rook and the queen were also going with pawns pushing towards where the king was. So I do think he should be able to see f5 here. I think he should find it. I would be a little bit surprised if he doesn't, because no other pawn moves make sense. But I mean, he could also think that I just want to play like a quiet move here. But it's a very dangerous move, you guys, because now I'm gonna have to put my life in his hands here, because like I'm not gonna be able to give him easy moves. Rook. I mean, it's going to be very dangerous, you guys, because now I'm going to have to trust that he can find a best move, because we're in a situation where there's an open file, they're back ranked mates, there are all kinds of problems here. So this is like this is very dicey. I'm gonna have to trust him to find the right moves now. There's no like I can't really like guide him to easy moves. He's just gonna have to find the right move and not get mated. Rook. He should spot it now, though, because Rook D1 really is choreographing the exact checkmate here, so he should be able to spot it. I mean, so we'll see. I said Rook. He's got 2 good Rook moves. I think he can find one of them. I assume he can find one of them. I expect him to, at least. Okay, that's one of the 2 moves that's good, actually. That's one of the 2 moves that's safe. It's a safe move. It's a safe move. Let's go with Rook. Go with Pawn. I'm not sure if he knows the concept of Luft, but I think he should understand. Yeah, I think he should figure it out. Also, you guys, even okay. Let's go with Rook. Now, this is where it gets interesting, you guys, because we're in at 50-50. If white plays bishop d2 after queen e7, we're winning, or they can take. So it depends what white says, because if the 2300 thinks that xQc can't find queen e7, they should play bishop d2. But if they assume that xQc can find queen e7, then you're going to lose the game. So it's actually, this is a very 50-50 situation, where it's going to be interesting. Do they trust that xQc can't find queen e7 when I say queen, or do they just take and play this endgame with pawn takes rook? It's a very tricky situation here. Very tricky. Rook. Oh, that's such a bad decision. Whoever I think it's a Polish guy who said that is just completely insane, because like he wanted queen c8, king h7, bishop d2, and then after rook e8 it's a draw. But there's no way that a 1000 is going to find bishop d2 there. A 1000 is not going to find queen c8 and bishop d2. No. I don't see how we have any chance here. I'm gonna have to tell him to play rook takes c3 next move. Rook. I mean, I have to tell him to move the rook here, you guys, because if he takes the queen, I mean, it's just a bishop against pawns on the board. I can't assume that the white's going to make a mistake here. I just can't. It's just I think it's better odds of a rook versus a queen than down a bishop in an endgame here. It's just I was worried that he might do that because I mean basically when I said rook he can just move the rook anywhere, but then yeah, then he went for rook h3. Oh, that's so unfortunate. But he still, I said rook, so he's got to know that he can take the bishop here.
Rook?
Yeah, I said rook. There's a slight mishap, but it's okay. King. Let's go with rook. 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 Pawn. Pawn. I guess king. Rook. King. King. Pawn. Pawn. We have Miracle Hope at a stalemate, you guys. I want to go h5 king. Pawn. I was hoping for a miracle style with king h4, h5, g4, where he takes f4 and it's a draw. But queen e1's a great move here. Pawn. Problem is there's no stalemate here. Pawn. Pawn. King. King. Pawn. Pawn. King. 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 Yeah.
Fudge.
Yeah,
Was that my
we
mistake?
were completely winning. You took that pawn on the side, which was like.
What did I throw? Where? Show me.
Yeah. I'll invite you to the board. Just 1 second. Yeah, you should see it.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah, I mean there were a couple things. I invite you to the game board if you want to see it.
Yeah, I'm on the game board. I'm pretty sure.
They invite you to it. It's still in live chat, so I'll just resend.
Yeah. I'm on it.
Yeah, so I mean, it was all very good for the most part. I mean, what I wanted was like when I say move a piece 2 times in a row. Actually, normally what that means is that like I want you to kind of reposition it on a better square than it was the first time, if that option exists.
Yeah.
So like you blundered this, but this was the first point right here. You could have gone knight here.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't take because it depends. Yeah, and it sucks because I knew that the whole time that it wasn't a pin. And
yeah, it's okay.
It's terrible.
But I mean, really, the heartbreak was like back here. You could have just moved the rook anywhere except taking the pawn, basically, and you're winning. If you just move the rook back, basically any other square, and you're just winning because the pawn guards the queen.
Okay.
And you rook against bishop. I mean, the reason that in this position after he took, I said move the rook is because I thought when you take the queen, he takes your rook, and now he just has a bishop. And you just have pawns on the board. That's why I said rook, is because I thought.
Oh yeah, it's still a losing game.
Yeah. I thought our only chance was if you had like a rook on the board. That because you were confused when I said rook, and I just said that because like I just thought like if we only have pawns on the board, there's no chance against the bishop. That was the reason.
Okay,
it
makes sense. Yeah, the pin was the GG right there. That was fucking nail in the coffin, to be honest.
Yeah,
that would have been a crazy move though. I didn't see it.
Well, yeah, because I mean the thing is like he should not move the queen there. He moves the queen anywhere else. You're so tunneling on that rook that you can capture. Like that's the whole point. So like yeah, I mean it's unfortunate, but yeah,
I just missed it. It happens. Yeah, and it wasn't that good. It wasn't that hard of a move to figure out either.
Yeah, it's the only square where you don't take the rook though. I mean it's the only square. If he goes to any, and I guess he can go here. But like if he moves the queen to any, like this one or that one or even to the edge, you don't have this idea at all. So like you kind of have to like, I mean you're so expecting that like it's not crazy to miss it. But I would say that's what makes it really hard is when you're in game versus doing a puzzle. Like in a puzzle, I think you would have found this move easily.
Yeah.
But like in a game, like you're so focused and you see like, okay, you can take this rook with the knight. So yeah. It happens. It's not a big deal. You played pretty well overall. Just 2 mistakes, unfortunately. They were kind of big mistakes. That's all it was. But I mean, the whole game was good. Like everything you did, like all of this was good. You actually put the bishop on the right square. Do you know why I wanted you to put the bishop on the square?
The bishop on the square.
I put it on, I mean on this square. Like for example, you can move the bishop here instead of putting it on this square. Do you have any idea why this is a better square?
No.
Okay, so there are a few reasons. First of all, with the bishop here, it targets many different ways. If you put the bishop on this square, it's only aiming towards this pawn here.
Okay.
So when you put the bishop here, if you can, right now you see how there's these 2 pawns, one in front of the other. You can't really take this pawn because I just take back with the pawn. But let's say I make a move like king here, you can actually push this pawn now. And when white takes back, you can take back, and now your bishop is again aiming at 2 different diagonals here. So it's much better placed because of the long-term potential. Whereas if you go back here and you put the bishop here, it's only aiming at this one pawn. There's nothing else.
Okay. Yeah, I never really factored that in. That's such a good point. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And then also just as a last point, just if you look at these pawns where they are, like right now you can't really attack them. They're very solid. They guard each other. But like if you're able to get this, now these 2 pawns are very weak. Like you can maybe move the queen and attack it, and your bishop is attacking the pawns. There's nothing to support these 2 pawns here. Like if you go back here, you can't really attack this pawn because the one in front protects it, and this one in front also protects this one square up. So like if you can sort of split up these pawns, like you can just break them all up here. They're just 2 weak pawns now. There's nothing guarding anything.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one other thing I want to say also is that right here you move this rook up, which is a good move, but you also could have moved the rook here. Like sometimes it's good to have both the rooks on these 2 open central lines, if possible.
Okay. What does that do?
Well, basically the thing is that like the main idea that you actually want to play for is what I mentioned with pushing this pawn and opening up the board. So like your rook is already very well placed here, but if you can get your other rook to like this square, then when, let's just say I make a random move, then when this line opens up, you'll see both these rooks are on the open lines. Versus putting all the firepower on one line. Like it's still not a bad move, it's completely fine, but you're also like kind of if this, like for example, say I put my rook here and you get some position like this, you'll notice that like white's rooks maybe long term they can play on both files, whereas all your firepower is only on one, and it's not actually even open because the pawn and the bishop guard each other.
Yeah. Okay. So whenever you have both lines or whatever, if he misplaces some of the pieces on the left, you can.
I think the way that I would explain it is like normally when there are open lines, you want to try to take advantage of them. What the best time to like stack is if there's only one open line. So I guess in this position it's kind of hard to get an example, but let's just say I could magically put like another pawn on this file to oppose. Let me find a way to do that. Let me just make some random moves. Just 1 second. Yeah, so like for example, if you look at this position where the pawns are now, there's no potential open line on this one because there are 2 pawns here. Yeah. So now the only open line that can really happen is if you like push this pawn. You could always move the rook and maybe push this one later, but really the only open line that's gonna occur here is gonna be like for example, you get this position, and now like because you don't have this open line for the rook since you have the pawn in the way. Now you want to stack. You want to put all the firepower on the one open line, the one spot where you can aim towards like the white rook there. That's the main thing.
Yeah, I get it now.
Yeah. I mean it's difficult. It's not a big deal, but it's just something to keep in mind. And then one other thing also was like kind of the last thing I want to say was that if you go forward, right here, I think I said pawn, and actually what the move I wanted was for you to push this pawn here. And the point is that now you can like this knight is guarding this pawn. Like if the knight's not here, then it's just checkmate. Working quick.
Yeah, my initial thought was only one up for that pawn.
Yeah, it's completely fine. It's just if there are opportunities where there's like a knight or a bishop, generally it's like you shift it over once. So at the start of the game, normally, I mean, what you want is you want to like Like, let me just set it up. You want to get control of the center with the 2 pawns.
Yeah.
Kind of. And so when you get to like this, let me just go forward to where we were. Where was it? We're right here. Like, it's kind of the same thing. It's different because it's not these 2 central squares, but like if you can get pawns like on these 2 squares when white has castles here, there always are threats to push this pawn all the way down. Like if you, even if white could somehow play like something like this, for example, if you can get like this, you can get the pawn to like all the way down and then bring a rook and attack like this. It's very strong. So you're always looking for your opponent's castle to try and push like this pawn on the f file next to the king if you can.
Okay, you have to squeeze him. Squeeze him
And squeeze it all the way down the board. Exactly. Yeah, that's what you. That's one of those ideas. Like, actually, if we look at the first game, it was very similar. I don't know if you probably didn't notice that, but
well, on the right side, yeah, he castled, and then we ended up pushing all of our pieces.
Exactly, it was just the other way around. Yeah. All right, I guess we're the final game.